I never dreamed of having 12 of us on an SBF Visa spinner. And I want you all to know how much it fills my heart with joy that you have followed me into credit conquest. Woo!
I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. After enjoying the first day of Stumble in the Hole with the Buzz Bars Coaster Club, the second day would begin by taking some fellow coaster nerds around Branson, giving them the opportunity to ride every additional coaster in the area. Then there'd be a chance to enjoy a bit more of Silver Dollar City before making our way back home, which included a little bit of a mishap. Sunday morning led to the reason for us getting this 12-passenger van in the first place, as 11 other people decided to hop on the Gary bus for a Branson coaster hunt.
This is the Horror Bus?
Yeah.
Welcome. Have fun at your home in Horror Island.
But before we got to those rides, we took a recommendation from Larson and made a visit to Hertz Donuts. This was definitely a very popular place, as you could tell from the line when we got there, and it's a place with some really fun character. The dining area is actually fairly large for a donut shop and has some really unique seating with swinging chairs looking out to the window toward Branson's main drag. But it's not just the atmosphere people come for, it's the donuts, which come in a huge variety, of which our crew chose some of the more interesting options. Some were also just absurd in their size, like this apple fritter that was nearly the size of Ricky's head. As a fan of bananas, I knew which one I had to try.
Never had a banana-filled donut before, so let's see what this is all about. I don't think I hit the banana yet. Not bad.
It was certainly a delicious start to the morning.
Shotgun.
The Gary bus is coming, the Gary bus is coming, the Gary bus is coming, the Gary bus is coming.
And now that we were all loaded up on sugar, we were ready to go coaster hunting. While I had been on 2 of these rides before, the goal was to give anyone who wanted to join a chance to ride each of the additional coasters in Branson, starting with the Branson coaster at Branson Sawmill. A ride that offers a dual lift setup in which the 2 sections of track wind over, under, and around each other. Jacob was able to get us a special deal for the ride since he works for Vigand, the company that designed this and many other mountain coasters. And we got a special treat while awaiting our turn, as they brought out some additional cars for added capacity. A process I had not yet seen during any of my past mountain coaster rides, but it gave us all a chance to nerd out a little. The next stop was over to the Branson location of an FEC called The Track, which had a Visa spinner. While I've ridden a ton of these over the past few years, this might have been the largest group I've gone to ride one with.
Look at all of my credit whore followers who have come to join me on this grand exposition seeking random roller coasters that are shameless. Look at each and every one of these dirty credit whores waiting for the SBF Visa spinner. I've never been so proud.
It would also be a special occasion as we awaited our turn.
And I would just like to share how incredibly proud I am of this man, because he's getting his 100th roller coaster.
Doing it the Gary way.
And he's doing it the right way with a shameless SBF Visa spinner. Sir,
Couldn't do without you.
And as our crew hopped aboard, the moment felt right for a speech.
of putting this together I never dreamed of having 12 of us on an SBF Visa spinner. And I want you all to know how much it fills my heart with joy that you have followed me into credit conquest.
Woo! Gary, you are a river to your people.
After a successful +1 for everybody on board, it was back onto the Gary bus and on to our next stop at Branson Mountain Adventure Park for a chance to ride Runaway. While I had also previously ridden this one, I think several may agree that this might have been one of the best mountain coasters to come from the Aquatic Design Group, especially as the ending has you coming in with some really high speed. The last stop for the Gary Bus coaster run was Shepherd's Adventure Park, home of the Copperhead Mountain Coaster, which is one of the hardest to see from any of the visitor areas because of the part of the mountain it rides upon. But I loved how they maintained many of the trees that surrounded it, helping to further enhance the feeling of speed when you get going. As ridiculous as this hobby of coaster hunting can be, I enjoy it even more when others come along for the fun, and leading this side quest of shameless coaster hunting was one of my personal highlights for the weekend. But what followed right after was definitely my dumbest moment, as Pseudo brought several of those Buc-ee one-chip challenges with him, and most folks weren't really clamoring to give it a try, but as someone who likes a little spice here and there, I thought I'll give it a go, and that was a mistake.
Hell. Open up! I'm trying to hit this now.
I said you didn't have to do it.
How was it, Gary?
This is so awful. This is terrible.
Would you like some liquid IV to help?
I don't know if that would help.
I don't know if it would or not.
After a bit of time to recover, those of us who took a small break at the cabins made our way back over to Silver Dollar City for some afternoon rides. As is typical on a Sunday for a stumble weekend, there'd be points where folks started to trickle out and began their journeys home, which led to several goodbyes and group hugs as one does when with this group of folks. Some of us who stuck around to the end, though, would enjoy a final ride of the weekend aboard the Frisco Silver Dollar Line, their steam train that takes you around the park, past several of the rides with neat angles you don't get from the main park paths, and a bit outside of the main park area where you're treated to a short comedic train robbery show. The interactions between the train robbers and our conductor made it even funnier, because it seemed like they might have botched a few lines from that early season rust, but they went ahead and ad-libbed it a bit and had fun with it. As we pulled back in the depot and the park was closing for the night, some final farewells were given to those on their way home, and we began to trek up to the exit. Although some of us would stop for a visit to the gift shop, which led to a mass purchase of some Sioux City sarsaparillas, and a final toast to the weekend that was had, before those of us getting one more night in the cabins made our way back. Erica had a really early flight that was taking off out of Springfield, and even though she insisted that we didn't need to leave that early for her, our St. Louis crew was willing to get an early start to help her make it. And this gave me a chance to introduce Nate and Nicole to the wonders of Buc-ee's, the popular gas station chain out of Texas, with a ton of merchandise for their iconic beaver Buc-ee and some signature items such as their assortment of jerkies and hot nuts. This early morning visit, though, called for some breakfast, so I decided to try their brisket breakfast tacos, which were great. Our drive back to St. Louis, though, had a huge snag, as the rear driver's side tire of the van blew out, and thus we had a bit of a delay. Finding out that the rental car company was going to charge a significant amount to have someone come and replace it, Nate and I took matters into our own hands, and with a bit of elbow grease, we got it replaced and back on the road.
Blown out tires, not exactly the vision that I had for the end of this trip, but we got it changed, we got to the airport, and now it's time to go home.
While I used points to get to St. Louis, I decided to go the standby route for the return home, taking advantage of the flight benefits from Philip. But unfortunately, the flight that I was planning to catch to Detroit was a tad full.
Unfortunately, I think it's safe to say that flight's not happening, but there is a very wide open flight to Salt Lake City, and then one to Seattle that will be available after that, which also is very wide available. The only downside is a late arrival back home, but as long as I get there, that's all that counts.
Considering the likelihood of missing that flight, I decided to find a nice comfy chair for a nap, but as I took another look at the waiting list, I saw that I was next in line for that Detroit flight if somebody didn't show up. So I went over to the gate just in case, and as luck would have it, that's exactly what happened. The last passenger didn't make the cutoff time, and I rushed to board that flight to Detroit as originally planned. It was a bit easier to relax for a short nap, knowing that I was making progress toward getting home at the time originally planned for. This routing had a 3.5-hour layover just before the Seattle flight, so I found myself a spot to enjoy a beer and get some work done before heading over to the gate where an Airbus A321 was waiting to take us back over to the Pacific Northwest. And with that, I was back home after another great weekend with the Buzz Bar's crew. Selma of the Hole was such a great kickoff to the Buzz Bar events of 2024, and will always stand out for the awesome Decades party that kicked it off, the fun rides and great food of Silver Dollar City, and the ridiculous fun of leading a van full of shameless coaster hunters to various Branson locations for those coveted plus ones. I also appreciate having yet another opportunity for some additional pre-stumble experiences, and wish to thank Nicole and Erica for joining me in heading over to the other side of the Mississippi and the City Museum. And a special thank you to Nate for his help in getting the van back on the road after what could have been a huge disaster to end the weekend. A huge thank you to the Buzz Bar's leadership group and event planning team for putting together yet another excellent event. This is one that I think many will cherish for a long time, and can reminisce in thanks to yet another excellent Buzz Bars video by Allison on the club's YouTube channel, which has a very different feel to it, but just as effectively shares the experience of that awesome weekend that was held in Missouri. If this series has piqued your interest in joining Buzz Bars, then be sure to head over to buzzbars.com for more information about joining the crew, and you can keep up to date with the club happenings through various social media pages. One last shout out to the Buzz Bars crew, as several members came in clutch with their footage for the festivities of the weekend, which helped me to share the bigger picture of what it was like to be here for an excellent time. Thank you all for joining me on this look back at Stumble in the Hole. I hope you enjoyed it and that you come back to see future adventures, including the next one which sees a return to Pennsylvania with the Buzz Bar's crew for a bit of that jawn, here on Coasting with Culture. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.